Yes.
Yes.
Not rolling now.
Okay. Again, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to come back to NAC and briefly provide you an overview of the 2025 to 2045 comprehensive plan update. What I can say is that the statute really says that the county and the cities are supposed to review and update if necessary. That's what the language in Revised Code of Washington says. However, there are reasons why we go through the periodic update. Part of that is because nothing remains the same. The legislature passes new bills that requires local jurisdiction and counties to comply, if you will. This part of work that we do, the legislature also says we can do. A couple of years ago, during the recessionary period, they put in place to update every 8 years. Since then, they have revised that to say now you can update, review and update if necessary every 10 years. So quickly, what Jose and I will do, this will be shared presentation or discussion, and we will be available to take questions and then let you continue with your evening. But again, thank you for your inviting us, and thank you, Mary Lee, for your coordination. So what we will do is just briefly provide you an overview of where we are, what decisions have been made, what decisions still needs to be made, and then we can go over the, we are now in 2025, even 2 months into 2025, how time flies. So Jose will go over the project schedule, and within that, we will talk about so many decisions that are yet to be made, or as we go through the remainder of the year, we'll share with you dates that we have penciled in and encouraging our council to stay with that dates and progress if we are to complete the update. So let's go to the next slide. Let me just provide you a quick overview of decisions that have been made. This is you may have seen this before, so pardon us for continuously repeating it, but it's worth mentioning because this is the 4 phases that staff proposed or outlined for the completion of the update. And the phase 1 was just the project initiation, followed by shaping of the plan, the second phase, and then third phase is review and refinement of the plan, and then the 4th phase is the adoption process. So that is the general 4-phase steps that we are following. In the project initiation phase, we started, some of you will recall, we started with adopting a public participation plan and the scope of work. And what I can say is that in that project initiation phase, all the check marks, or throughout this, all the check mark decisions that have been made by council upon the adoption of the public participation plan and scope of work, the council also adopted the population that we are to plan for in the next 20 years. They also adopted the associated job that we have to also plan for. And following that action, knowing the population to plan for, and as well as the associated employment or jobs to plan for, including rooftops and jobs, we then went through a process of allocating that new growth on how each city should get their share of that growth and then begin the process of planning for in their communities of how to accommodate that. One of the things that changed this year as a result of the new laws that the legislature passed, this is the first time, if I may, that the legislature is doing what I call a top-down approach rather than a bottom-up approach. In other words, they are making it really, they're putting the hammer down that local governments have to plan for, not encourage, but plan for housing unit based on various income bands. And we are all familiar and hear about housing crisis or however we want to characterize that. But we all know that all along the western coast of the United States, that price of housing has been going up significantly. At least a study that was done for the state of Washington indicates that the state is 1 million units behind where it should have been. So as a result of that information, the state is saying to local government, you now have to plan for housing unit again by various income band. Based on the population that the county chose, the Department of Commerce was charged to come up with a methodology on how to allocate what each county should be planning for. For Clark County, based on the population that the council chose and other factors that was in the methodology that the Department of Commerce came up with, we are required now to plan for about 103 new housing units countywide. Shaping of the plan after the allocation and all the check marks in phase one, we moved into phase two, where we hired an environmental consultant to help us write or assess the impact both on the draft environmental impact statement. They will also be the firm writing the final environmental impact statement. But also in shaping of the plan, all the 4 checked marked has been completed. The council has reviewed and approved the 3 alternative land use that we are supposed to study in the draft environmental impact statement. I'm hoping with technology, Jose might be able to share the 3 scenarios. Of course, by law, we are required to have a no action alternative or a no action plan, which is essentially the existing comprehensive plan for the county that was adopted in 2016. So where we are now is that box that says input on county comprehensive plan text and policies and Title 40 revisions if needed. What we are staff is beginning to do is to look at our existing comprehensive plan text and policies. The crux of the work really is on policies, given the new laws that this legislature have passed. What we are trying to do is to make sure that any changes to policy, the text, whatever the case may be, that at least we consider those changes that have been made and any other subsequent changes in policy or policies and other decisions that the county have made, in this case, county council have made that warrant us to update our but our chapters. If you recall, some of you did serve on the housing action and study. Since then, a couple of changes have been made dealing with middle housing. So we are going to reflect all those changes, but in our comprehensive plan text. We are beginning to take those in a draft format to the Planning Commission, and Jose will talk about that where we are. We just had our first work session with Council, with Planning Commission, taking what I may call low-hanging fruit chapters to the Planning Commission. And all this information is all available on our website so that you may have the opportunity to take a look at them. Changes are going to be made in the future when we get to the preferred plan, but the changes may be very, very minor. The review and refinement of the plan phase is where we will have the draft environmental impact statement out. We are looking at starting that in fall to summer of 2025. And with that document out, we will have 30 days for the public to review that. We will provide copies to all the libraries, and all our cities will have a copy. And that document will become available by law or SEPA, State Environmental Policy Act. We are required to provide 30 days for comment period. And with that, based on those comments and hearing before the Planning Commission and Council, and the cities going through their own process and participating, throughout this process, we have been coordinating with our local jurisdiction and other partners. And that will lead us into conversation of what the preferred plan will look like. And it is that preferred plan that we will then engage in updating our capital facilities plan and coming up, as well as our capital facilities financial plan, and then our transportation analysis. What this phase or that phase will entail is how are we going to pay for the land use that we are say is our preferred plan, and put a price tag on that, and also identify the sources of funding. But as you all know, the capital facilities plan has two types. One is a 20-year capital facilities list, and it's from that 20-year capital facilities plan that 6-year discussion of 6-year capital facilities plan come from. And it's kind of like another way of incrementally implementing your plan using your 6-year capital facilities plan approach. And that's one that often you hear about TIP that the council approve before adoption of the budget. So with that preferred plan, we'll then move into the issuance of the final environmental impact statement. And hence that is done, it kicks off another process which requires 60-day notice to Commerce and begin our adoption process. So that is what you see on the final phase. We are required to submit our plan and every associated documents to the Department of Commerce to commence the 60-day review. And then we will start during that same time frame having hearings with our Planning Commission and work session and hearing. And then similarly with our council, upon recommendation from the Planning Commission, we will share that with our council, and they will have their own hearing. And we'll see, you can see on the adoption with the effective date, the legislature extended for 2025 adopters. They gave us additional 6 months. This was originally scheduled to be completed June 30th of 2025, but with the additional 6 months, you can see here where we say on or before December 31st, 2025. Let's go to the next slide. Jose, I think you can take it up from here to go over these are statutory deadline, but let me stop here. If you have questions, please feel free to ask, and you can wait and ask the question after Jose is done. Thank you.
Let's wait. Just Jose may cover it.
Okay. Jose, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Oliver. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Alvarez, and I am the Land Use Program Manager with Clark County. I'll just go over the 2025 schedule. These, the deadline by the state is to have our plan submitted by the end of December of this year. As Oliver mentioned, there's a 60-day commerce notice prior to adoption, and then the final EIS also 60 days prior. So essentially, we have to have pretty much all of our work done, drafted by the middle of October in order to meet that December deadline. One of the things that's coming up, and I'll show you in a second, in June is when we are going to get our draft environmental impact statement from our consultant. That'll have a 30-day period, comment period. Once that's completed is when we will start the legislative process with the Planning Commission and the Council to start the selection of the preferred alternative. It's not until that preferred alternative is selected that we can do work on the capital facilities plans and seeing, whether we can afford the plan. So that's kind of the sequence of events. And then I'll see if this, I've embedded the schedule here. Let's see if it works. Can you see that or not?
It hasn't opened yet.
Okay. All right. Let me
try again.
Yeah. It's open on mine. Let's see. I have to get out of this. All right. Hold on a moment. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, we can. I don't know whether you want to enlarge it just a little bit more. That's good. Yes.
Okay. So again, we are, in this, we just had work session with council last week on the 5th of February to go over this timeline with them. We have some work sessions scheduled with them as we move along through the process. As I mentioned, that June 1st date is when we're hoping to have the draft EIS from our consultant, the 30-day comment period, which pretty much be all of June, and then starting work sessions with our Planning Commission in June and July to get to a July 31st hearing with the Planning Commission, and they will make recommendations to council on the selection of the preferred alternative. And then we'll have work sessions with council in July and August, and have hearings in August. We have these, placeholders for consecutive hearings because we really need to get that preferred alternative selected by that time frame in August, so that we can begin the analysis of the preferred alternative and begin work on the completion of the final environmental impact statement. So that'll be happening between September, after August, mostly in September and October, with the completion of EIS by October 16th, and also having the comp plan text and county code updates. We started with, as Oliver mentioned, some of the comp plan text that we took to Planning Commission last Thursday. And so we will continue to have work sessions with them to discuss any updates to the comprehensive plan, chapters, and mostly the policies where we're gonna be focusing on. There's some new legislation surrounding climate element that's now required, and some updates to the housing element that was also new legislation. Luckily, we've been sort of had a head start on some of the housing with our housing options study and action plan, and we've taken some of that through the legislative process and gotten that approved. And so part of what we're doing, and if I can show you the mapping later, some of the proposed changes are looking at upzoning some of our urban medium and urban high density zones, because there's some overlap with the changes that we made in the single family zones last year. So just finishing up on the schedule, having the draft comp plan text and any zoning changes and updates to Title 40, again, having that completed, drafts of that completed by the middle of October, and then beginning the Commerce 60-day review. We'll send that to those drafts to Commerce, and then begin the public hearing process. We're looking at having joint hearings between the Planning Commission and the Council beginning November 6th and also November 13th, and then having the Planning Commission having them have a hearing so that they can deliberate on those items and then make a recommendation to Council, and the Council will have work session in December, and then public hearing again for deliberation, and then hearing on the final adopting ordinance December 16th. And then issuing the notice of adoption, which would trigger the 60-day appeal period. So this is a very expedited and tight schedule with not much of any wiggle room. I think the only other thing I didn't touch on is in March, the second week in March, we're looking at having some open houses of the three alternatives to be studied, the DEIS, and we're looking at several locations throughout the county in the unincorporated area, Ridgefield and Battleground primarily. So having three open houses and maybe something online that people can look at and have a sort of a self-paced review of the materials that we will have at the open house. Let's see, let me get back to the presentation, and there's one more slide. It just has our information where you can look at our webpage. And if you have any questions, we'd be glad to take those.
So Jose, is your calendar that you just showed us on the website?
Yes, it is.
It is, as Jose indicated, it is a very tight schedule. I put it in there just for formalities that the dates are subject to change, but I've emphasized to our council and our local jurisdiction that this timeline is firm. I would like us to keep it there. Maybe factors that could lead to some changes a day or two, but I would like us to keep firm to the updated project schedule. When we had the 6 months extension from the legislature, we thought we really have some ample time, but a lot of discussion back and forth was expended going through the population, going through the allocation and so forth. And here we are, really facing some challenges, but I believe that we can come through, because we do not want to be out of compliance for not completing our project update on time, even with the 6 months extension. So we'll stop there, see if you have questions. Jose, do you have that maps to share, if it's possible?
Yes, let's see.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Thanks. I saw something about the DEEB group making a proposal this week around park space and open space, and I wondered how things like that impacted your timeline. Is that a new proposal? Would it require changing things, or how does that work?
Something about parks and open space, you said? Did I, can I?
Her question was, she heard something about DEEB making a proposal about a change in open space and parks requirements. Does that impact the comp plan
Well, there's an impact schedule.
or the comp plan schedule? Or is that a separate proposal that's part of just the code?
What I can say is that we have been working very closely with our parks staff. We are required to update the parks and open space element, and we are working with them to get that accomplished. So I suspect that they will be in line with the schedule that we have. We are encouraging our other departments to take a look at this schedule and incorporate whatever they're working with that could impact this timeline to get that going. So that's all. That will be my response, because I know that my staff have reached out to Public Works, Parks, and Open Space, sharing information with them and timeline, and asking that they help us to update the parks element. And I'm sure that any update to the parks, including open space and other standard, will likely be incorporated in update to that chapter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you all see the map?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to set the preface for this, as Oliver mentioned, we are planning for about 103,000 new folks over the next 20 years. The state, well, the portion that was allocated to the unincorporated Vancouver UGA was about 40,000 housing units. And the state is requiring, with a new tool they created, a Housing for All planning tool, that jurisdictions plan for different income bands. So based on your income. So 0 to 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 80, 80 to 100, and 100+% of area median income. So the portion that the county, the unincorporated area, of that 40,000, about 2/3 of it, 26,000 units, have to be provided at an income of 80% or below. So that's really housing, more affordable housing, and housing that for the most part can only be reached through sort of multifamily zoning. And so one of the proposals, so in these alternatives, what we're looking at is trying to have enough land zoned to provide that level of multifamily housing. Most of our land base is dedicated to single family zoning, which is the R15 through R120 zones. In 2023, maybe 2024, we adopted the middle housing that allows for increased density in some of those, in all of those single family zones where you can get, we can do cottage housing and get 2,000 square foot townhomes in R15 zoning. And so the density that's allowed in that R15 zone now can go up to almost 21.5 units per acre. And with that, now our urban medium zones start at a minimum density of 8 units an acre, all the way up to R43. The minimum is from 8 to 20 units an acre. So the zoning that we allow now in the single family zone completely overlaps with what we have in the urban medium and urban high zones. And so one of the things that we're looking at is increasing the density in those urban medium and urban high zones so that it no longer overlaps with what's currently allowed in the single family zones. So I don't know if you can see, this area is essentially 78th Street east-west, and then this is Hazeldale Avenue, Northeast 7th Avenue, an I-5 running through, sorry. So you can see the on the south side here, the R30, R18, R22. We're proposing changing the R12 to an R24, R18 to like an R32, R22 to an R40, R30 to an R43, or an R45, and R43 to an R50. And we're still working with our housing consultant to firm those up. I think we're looking at maybe consolidating those 5 zones into 3. But so this is in land use alternative 1 is the no action option. So the R30 and R18 would stay the same. Under alternative 2 and 3, these would change. And I'll show you what that looks like. So the R45, R32, R50, R40. So those are the proposed changes, the new zones. We're working on what the range of density is going to be, but it'll typically follow the numbers there. The other thing we've done in this alternative is in Highway 99, the sub-area plan allows for housing outright in some of the zones along there. And in some of them, there's no maximum density. And so what we've done is tried to capture in our previous vacant buildable lands model, we've never had an assumption for any housing capacity in that Highway 99 area where it's primarily commercial now. And we've seen some recent residential developments that have gone into those areas, And so we're not proposing any changes to any of the land zoned in that area. The only thing we're trying to do is capture some of the capacity because we didn't account for it previously. So we're making an assumption that 20% of the land that's has an underlying zoning of commercial will develop as multifamily, and assuming that it would develop at a, I think, certain dwelling units per acre, because currently there's no maximum. And I think the underlying zone, if it's multifamily, the base zone is what is the only thing that we will be looking at changing. If say it was an R43, then whatever that R50 zone will be for the low is what the baseline will be for what would be allowed there. So right now, R43 allows a minimum of 20 units per acre. If we change to R50, and it might go up to a minimum of 30 units per acre. So those are the changes there. Let's see. There are some additional areas, essentially anywhere where the urban medium and urban high were, we're looking at upzoning those, and in some cases adding to those areas, because we really don't have enough land zone for urban medium and urban high to accommodate the housing units that we have to accommodate in the based on the allocation that we've received from that was adopted as council direction, and with the new guidance from the Department of Commerce at the state level. And so as we go through this process in selecting a preferred alternative, we have to have enough, show that we have enough capacity to accommodate what was allocated to us. Other thing I will show you in alternative 3 is that there's proposed expansions of the UGA for residential in alternative 3. In alternative 2, there weren't any proposed expansions for residential, but for employment land. So areas along Northeast 10th Avenue, this is 199th and I-5 here. So we're proposing to expand the urban growth area north of there to where the 219th interchange is, to accommodate additional employment. And then along Northeast 50th is another area where there's a proposal to bring in this area at 159th, just east of 50th, for employment land. So that's what's in alternative 2. Show you what's alternative 3 builds on some of that, and includes some additional areas for urban growth boundary expansions.
Jose, I think we can characterize alternative 3, and I apologize, I didn't mention that in my overview of decisions that have been made. At the hearing on December 6th, the council, by unanimous vote, I don't think it was unanimous, but they did vote to ask that we include all the site-specific requests that property owners submitted during this process. So that's reflected in alternative 3, and I think that's what Jose is going through now. The council also directed that the county commence or do a resource study. Resource land include agriculturally designated land, forest designated land, and also mineral lands. That study, we also, while we didn't mention it, we are looking at hopefully having that study completed by June to help inform the county and the cities, how we navigate getting to the preferred. So sorry I didn't mention that, but this alternative 3, did include all the site-specific requests that was submitted during this process. So that's what is being reflected in alternative 3. I know that alternative 2, which the cities submitted, La Center, Richfield, and I believe Commerce has resource designated land in the proposal that is going to be studied again. But I think the reasoning for the council asking us to do the resource study, the bringing ag into the urban growth boundary requires the designation of that resource justification that that property is no longer a viable agricultural land or support the ag industry as a whole, or is still commercially significant. That's a tall order to overcome, but hopefully we put out an RFP, and we don't know who we are going to or who is going to submit to do that study, but just want to mention that that is one of the decisions or directive from our council. That decision was made on December 6th of last year. Jose, go ahead, continue.
Now just showing on the east side, this is Ward Road and Northeast 99th Street, and this is where we have some of the larger submittals for expanding the urban growth area and that are currently designated ag. So the orange is ag 20, and then the proposal R15, R16, R175, and I think to the another area.
Is this the Anderson Dairy property?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like.
Are these maps online?
Not yet. We're working on.
Oh,
Yes, our objective is to get them online very soon, but they're not quite. We're not quite there yet.
Who decides when enough is too much?
That's a good question, sir. Who decide when it's too much? I think the council will make the decision, but all that is going to be driven on, 1, the capacity, 2, the previous decision that the council have made in terms of population and employment to plan for. That becomes a control number, if you will, and we cannot exceed that control number because those are the decisions that the council have made. Nobody forced it on us. That's their decision, and we accept that. And that's who makes the decision. And if, as we go through this process, if we get to the discussion of, I mean, the DEIS is going to come out, I don't know what it's going to say, but if it comes out indicating that if all these changes and including site-specific requests exceeds the capacity that we are planning for, then it means that some trimming will have to be made.
We add more housing per acre, you have to widen the streets for more cars. The streets are being narrowed because of the higher density. One is working in direct conflict with the other.
Or also in part, impacts the parking.
And all the cars end up parked on the street. That's my point.
I totally agree with you. Those are some of the consideration and analysis of impact, depending on what the final plan look like. Again, growth comes with showing how you're going to pay for it and what are the consequences.
I wanted to ask, what percentage of this growth is owner occupied? Or are we just planning on building straight up and, you know, having the mouse thing?
So we don't.
Go ahead, Rose.
So we don't really look at, well, we try to promote home ownership, but it's not something that we regulate. So part of what we are tasked with is providing housing at incomes below 80%, where folks aren't really going to be able to purchase their own home at that income level. So we're looking at providing for more multifamily housing than we've had in the past. Not that some of it is going to have to be, at the very low income levels, going to have to be subsidized, but they're very, we have to provide the opportunity for that housing to be built. And so we don't have a lot of land that's zoned that can accommodate that type of development, multifamily housing. We have a very little amount of that relative to the single family land that we have in the county and in the unincorporated Vancouver UGA.
Oliver,
Yes.
I listened very carefully when you chatted about my highway. Are you planning to come out to the Hazelville Salmon Creek Business Association with your plans to put 20% housing on a commercial strip? Because I'd really like that to happen. I chatted with Brad Lofbeck already tonight to see if we can get you on the schedule. So you can expect to get a note from him and or me or both.
We welcome that, Isla. We love you and we would like to come out and meet with you. We worked with you and your group, Team 99, if you recall, to put that Highway 99 sub-area plan together. There have been some challenges, but yes, we'll come out and meet with your group.
Right. That's
We look
wonderful.
forward,
Thank you.
we look forward to
Everybody-
the invite.
Right. We just need to all be on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I own it. I own it. Did
So,
you know? I do.
Looking at the schedule and all, I was concerned about this in the beginning, way back when, that the kind of public comment period for the final is like mid-December, it sounds like. And if the public comes back after seeing where we're at, is there going to be time to make changes and all?
Oh, no. Can't do that.
And we all know that you guys have had, public participation along the way, which is great, but, decisions haven't even still yet been made for a final. It's only when we hit the final that people are going to go and look at it really, more carefully and then react to it however they're going to react.
Good point, sir. That is why the public participation plan is often an early. When we did the scoping, the purpose of doing that as is required is not just to check the box, but it was to ask the public what type of issues should we be looking at in the development of the alternatives. And we heard from the public, and that the outcome of that SIPA scoping was published. I think what I can say is that we heard from multiple voices that says, do not expand the urban growth boundary. For example, there were many of that. And what I would say is that when we come out in March with the open house that Jose touched about, I will encourage folks to come out and see the alternatives, the three alternatives, 1 and 2 or 2. The cities have proposed 2 alternatives. The county has 2 as well. So I think the question is going to be, did we capture what you told us, or including the cities, when we did that scoping? And finally, there will be, we put out this tight schedule. Yes, it's very tight, but we want to hear from the public. By the time we get to the preferred, that is what the purpose of going back, sharing with the public the 3 scenarios that is in play to be studied. And there will be opportunity. We'll have 1 month for the public throughout the county to react to that and tell us and submit comments, what they think about those alternatives, and they will be participating before we get to the preferred. So there will be an ample time. It may seem like there isn't, but there will be ample time for the public to continuously provide both written and oral. There will be hearings. Jose mentioned that there will be opportunity for a joint hearing between the Planning Commission and Council, so that the Council will be hearing public sentiment, public comment, along with the Planning Commission. The difference is that the Council will go away and have the Planning Commission deliberate and make recommendations to them. I hear what you're saying, but we will provide ample opportunity for the public to comment. And we are available to come to NAC as frequently as we can to share with NAC. And I mean, Mary Lee, I mentioned that she has been very good in inviting us with coming out to any neighborhood that invites us to come to share where we are, decisions that have been made and decisions that are yet to be made. Land use is all about impact, as you know. So we will share the information and seek both oral and written comments. Everybody's not gonna like the plan one way or the other. There is no plan that everybody likes, but it's just how do we create some balance.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver, for that. I'm going to suggest, I think I heard that there were 2 meetings in March and then an online one or whatever. I'm going to suggest, if we want to avoid issues at the end, that we do more than 2, do 3 or 4 of those, do an East County one as well. I heard North and Battleground, but going out Fern Prairie, Camas area, and Washougal North as well might be another one. The more we can get public participation early, the less hassle I think we're going to get at the end when there's not much time. Thank you.
How do you know?
I agree with you. We will have 3 open houses and 1 online. I can give an example. The public testimony and pressure on the proposal from the city of Washougal on adding a school site as part the only urban growth boundary that they proposed. Now the city of Washugo is telling us that they will not be now including that school in their proposal to us. So that eliminates any boundary expansion as proposed by Washugo. Now, if I had come to the council and said, you know what, Washugo, the city of Washugo will accommodate will accommodate whatever growth we assign to them for the next 20 years plus. The councillors will say, probably, why are you saying that? But it is the city of Washugo, as Jose indicated. There's so many factors. When you look at the county, we have a sea of yellow, all single family. Not all of them have developed, but I think not to agree with the state, but they have been resistant to allow for increase in density from local jurisdiction and the public at large. What the state is saying is you got to do something different. They are not opposed to home ownership. They're just saying that there are a lot of Washingtonians that are, need housing. Whether it's in the form of townhouses, whether it's in the form of apartment, just plan for the housing to accommodate folks. There are other factors that leads to why some folks are homeless or whatever the case may be. But I think the goal was just to provide that the county and the cities have been under building for the number of units that is needed. And that's really why it's not like the state is asking us to do this. That's part of it. But they just want us to all do something different. There's room to do something different. I'm hoping that the market will adjust to that. We cannot control interest rate. We cannot control labor costs. We cannot control land costs, but we have to just provide opportunity for some of these units to come online. Some folks, as you know, I'm not patronizing, but some folks, first of all, starts in living in an apartment before they can afford
Yeah.
You're muted. You got a call.
Okay. Did you have a question? Because they could probably answer your question, Greg.
Yeah, my question was, how do they notify the public about these public open meetings? Because I don't think I've ever seen any kind of a notification.
So,
Jose, could you?
yeah, so typically we for comprehensive plan updates, we will we have a list of folks that sign up for to be notified of upcoming meetings. We try to put this out, news releases to the newspaper. We typically don't send out specific notices to individual property owners as part of the comprehensive plan update. So we'll reach out as much as we can through NAC and through all of the channels that we have. But typically we have not done individual mailings for the comprehensive plan updates. So check our webpage for the upcoming meetings.
And it'll be on the county website as soon as you have locations and dates and times.
Yes, correct.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
Oh, Oliver, you're still muted.
Yeah, take your glasses off now, Oliver.
You're still muted, Oliver.
Thank you.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
no, I've seen it. He's still muted. Is he still talking?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I think, Jose, are you done?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So if you don't have any more questions, we'll say we greatly appreciate the opportunity to come to NAC. I wish we could be there in person. We used to come in person to meet with you. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening. And we always available to come to your meeting, share with you where we are, and try our best to answer your questions. We don't make policy. It is the council that makes the policy, but we helped to guide them there. As you all know, who have been here for a long time, every time we go through this process, at the end of the day, what I say to people is that the county comprehensive land use plan upon adoption is all compliant until we get an appeal, and then we start unwinding certain things. That will likely be the case, but I hope not. So thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come talk, chat with you. Isla, we look forward to coming out to the Salmon Creek Business Administration upon your association, upon your invite.
We'll chase you down.
Okay, I think Judy had a question, because I think I was seeing her talking. Judy, do you have a question before we let Oliver go?
No question right now.
Okay, I
Thank
just
you.
want to make sure you got your question if you had one.
Thanks much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver and Jose. This was really helpful.
Yeah.
And we'll take that back to our neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're short on time, but I can at least announce that we're opening nominations now for the secretary position because Bridget is going to be moving to Michigan
We did.
in a couple of months. So we need a new secretary, and we're opening nominations for the at-large positions as well.
And the secretary position, Bridget is agreed to continue until she's closer to moving, right?
You didn't ever say that before.
I think that's what you said. was,
Yeah, I didn't hear
through-
that,
through
for sure.
It likely April meeting? Is that still reasonable?
No, I know.
March, okay,
Yeah.
March through, so so we're still good till March, through March.
Yes.
And so, yeah, nominations can happen either tonight or at our March meeting.
Right.
Or in between,
Or
they can be sent to Bridget, who will forward them to me.
I'd like to nominate Bill, I've forgotten Bill's last name.
Why?
Klein for the at-large position.
Wait a minute, Isla was talking.
Yeah, we did that by design, Bill.
So this is why you guys have been meeting. What was I being nominated for?
At-large.
Oh,
So
So
do I
that's
have to like, what's my?
you have to give a speech.
March.
You don't want that.
We're accepting nominations between now and March. The criterion is that you have attended 4 meetings. Now we've had a big change.
I think
In the
I've
past
attended at
year.
least 4.
And your neighborhood is
Active, has been active for that entire time,
for these.
for at least the amount of time required to attend 4
If we
meetings.
don't replace Bridget, then she has to stay.
That's right.
No.
There is that.
You don't want to say.
Bridget, Bridget, would you tell the people what the job requirements are?
I was gonna give you guys a short
Oh.
update. I prepared.
Oh,
something
there you go.
for you.
Oh,
So. See if this will work. This is only just a couple of slides. So here's the actual job descriptions as they are on the,
okay, except that we don't have, we still have a treasurer
Yeah,
according to the bylaws.
It's not a.
We are not merging the secretary and the treasurer, although it's obviously not a big deal if we don't.
Well, the question is whether we can afford, and I use that word lightly, to leave the treasurer position empty if necessary. And
To March.
I think it can be safely said that the current position of the board is that since we are unlikely to have any significant treasury anytime soon. And since the reason for filling the position in the first place was to have people who would basically be available for discussions and help in decision-making, which is essentially the same as what we would expect from the at-large members. So it's less important to have somebody who performs the function of the treasurer, much more important to have a functioning secretary.
Yeah, and I noted on here that the treasurer duties currently are held by the vice chair.
Right.
So it's noted on here that that's what it is, but I wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
this is what's currently posted on there of what is on there, and I can send this out to everybody so that you can see what it is.
I'm just arguing that we don't have a secretary treasurer in the bylaws, right?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
That's how we handled it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we handled it before, and
Right.
so I wanted to make sure that's how we handled it before, but right now we're doing it that Curtis is.
I want to maintain that as a separate position in case we ever need it. We don't have to fill
Right,
it. I don't want to entrench the piece of paper that this is what it is,
has to be,
because
yeah.
it's
Right.
not what it
Yeah.
is.
and then I went through the last year of then who is eligible with the 4 or more meetings between January and January, and then this is who is eligible, and it's Roger, Bill, Debbie, Judy, and Isla is who is eligible that's attended 4 or more meetings
And isn't currently serving
And
for
is-
a board.
and isn't currently serving, because it's got Stephen and Kirk are also eligible, they're already serving.
But shouldn't it be between January 24 and January 25?
Oh, yes, it should. That's a typo, sorry about that.
That's okay. Jose made one on his chart too.
And then just so that everybody's aware, for an update, here's the current roster of who's active and on the board, and this is trying to get this moved so that it's out of the way. Heritage is recruiting new leadership, possibly reactivating in March, but they're currently not active. Curtin Creek is reactivating on 2/26. They do have a meeting scheduled. East Fork Alliance reactivated on January 16th. And everybody else is active. So we've got 16 active with the potential to have 18 active again in March.
So if Curtin Creek does reactivate 2/26,
Yeah, I don't-
25, she, for example, would be eligible to be nominated at the March meeting because she would have attended 4 meetings during 24, 25.
She will start being counted as attending on the March meeting.
No, she's been here for the past year.
No, what Marilee is saying is that your attendance is only counted during the time your neighborhood is active.
But it was active until the last month.
No, it
No,
wasn't.
it's been inactive for a while, right?
Yes, since 24, when it was split, when,
Okay, okay.
Sunnyside was
Judy
split
can
into 2
fix,
parts.
tell us.
Okay.
They had a meeting October 2023, and so technically October 2024, they became inactive.
Okay, so Kim attended meetings, but her neighborhood was,
Was inactive.
Yeah.
okay.
And so hopefully we'll have 18 again. I've got a lady talking to me about reactivating Heritage. And because of the way that Curtin Creek's bylaws are written, we have to inactivate them and reactivate them, or else they can't recruit members. Because their bylaws are written so that for people to be able to be board members, they have to have attended 2 meetings in the last year.
Right.
So it absolutely has to be inactive or else
Yeah.
it buggers everything up.
You have that lovely bylaw in there.
Yeah.
Nobody's using that.
And then our current NAC participation is at 7 out of 16 attend regularly, and quorum requires 8 attendees. 7 of the active neighborhoods come sometimes, and then 2 of them absolutely never come on the roster. And next meeting, depending on the status of the neighborhood transportation management plan, will be Public Works. It might be delayed into the April meeting. I just talked to them and they might bump it to the April meeting. And then I will have the neighborhood leader survey results ready for the next meeting as well.
Do we know why the 2 neighborhoods never attend?
They hate it.
Is that it?
No, I don't even know which do they.
The 2 that never attend are Ridgefield Junction, which only meets once a year. And they don't come. The other one that doesn't ever come
Four Creeks.
is Four Creeks. And
Really, I think that needs to be updated. I have pretty good knowledge that, Roxbury Hawkinson is non-existent. And nobody is even making an effort to make it active. And that was once 2 neighborhood associations, but then Battleground annexed part of that area. And so they combined into Greater Brushbury Hawkinson, and now all of those board members have moved out.
oh, they aren't on this
Nobody's
list.
replaced
Yeah,
them.
they aren't on this list at all.
You're right.
They aren't on this roster list at all, Roger.
Are they? Okay.
I didn't put them on here at all because they're inactive, but I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody.
Well, my concern is they're our next door neighbors.
Yeah.
We used to be very close and work together, and now there's nobody there to talk to.
Yeah, I have been digging up, there is a list, of the folks that attended their last meeting. And I've been going through it, trying to call people, and either phone numbers have changed, people have moved, and
Well, the one individual that was the president, quote unquote, has gotten a divorce and moved, so.
yeah, that, I can't get a hold of him at all.
No, he's gone.
And there's 2 others that the phone numbers are no
Well,
longer.
Kat Montgomery was part of that, but now she's in another
She's
neighborhood.
in Heritage. Was.
Yeah, Kat.
So the board has talked about helping Mary Lee reach out to some of these neighborhoods too,
Yeah.
or other people in the neighborhoods.
I would really
help
like to
them.
highlight that because that's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the other thing that I thought about doing for that neighborhood also is just sending out a postcard and having just a
The
meeting.
meeting, yep.
And that says, we're opening it up
Yep.
if anybody wants to come, but I do have to say that particular effort is usually not very successful. There usually has to be somebody who wants to be doing
Yeah.
something that is leading that effort for it to be successful.
also you want the
I
need-
believe I still have
Out there.
the
How can they not be involved? I just like wild.
Free. I might be able to get a hold of.
It's hard to
him and
drum
see
up
if he can-
interest unless there's a motivating.
But I'm hoping the
Yeah.
board can help with that too, as we add some more members to be able to kind of help facilitate with you on that. So.
Yeah.
if you'd like
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
the NAC
the
board?
NAC board to help.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
that afterwards.
Sure.
I'll let you guys get back to the nominations if you want to, and
So,
you had a nomination for at-large.
yep, and Bridget, do you want to talk about secretary so everyone knows kind of what the responsibilities are?
I don't want to put anybody up.
That's not exactly a good recruitment technique.
Just, you have to think about this as a pep talk.
Yeah.
This is a sales
The
pitch.
most exciting role with this, because you get to take notes of the meeting if you're holding as an official, which I'm not.
Nice and loud
Yes.
for the speaker.
Huh?
Nice and loud for the speaker.
Oh,
Yes. Good, you said you
yes,
just
you keep meeting notes. You, send out notices of the meeting and some of these things, I forwarded Marilee's notices of meetings as well. Marilee posts the agenda on the webpage and actually formats it and sets it up with the speakers pretty much. So attending board meetings, taking attendance at meetings, keeping notes, keeping copies of materials. And that's it?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
And there's only one board meeting a month aside from the normal NACCC.
Yeah.
And the board talked, and especially in light of the conversation last month, not wanting to, open up all the positions right now and exclude some newer people, but we still, we need to replace Bridget when she's gone, and we really need at least one of the at-large pieces. So there still is an at-large position
Right.
that can open whenever the body wants to do that, because we want good representation.
And that's sort of where I was making the case about keeping the treasurer position.
Yeah.
Because we really would like to get new people involved.
That's
Well, yeah, ideally, we want all the positions filled. But if there's a position that doesn't get filled right away, the one that's
One that
least,
has no responsibility.
Little,
probably
I have
right.
6 lines on a spreadsheet, so I am keeping that up to date.
Gary. Gary, is the at-large something we could talk you into?
Gary's not eligible.
Oh, never mind. I'm.
No,
No,
it's not something.
I hear you.
Ask him to the floor.
It seems like he's here all the time.
Yes.
You need to attend every meeting so we can put you on the board.
Whether you want to or not.
It's important, Gary.
You've got to.
You can only do
I'll work on it.
I think there's your answer right there.
Yeah, because. Do you ever do that? Do you chat with them?
yeah, sometimes.
Don't you see if you can't sell
Oh,
it?
yeah, no, I was planning.
And those are all things we can do outside of this.
Yes,
meeting,
that's
because
right.
it's past
Okay.
8 o'clock and
Yes.
we have
Okay.
Right.
just open.
And we have family here.
I have
Okay.
a question. If I'm not a board member of my neighborhood, Curtin Creek neighborhood, is it okay that I attend these meetings?
Absolutely.
It's okay
And
that
you
you
have
attend
on
these
the board.
meetings and actually we
They're
look
public
through the
meetings,
bylaws.
they're open meetings.
Well, can I
If you
get
attend 3
notices
more
about
meetings,
these
you can become a
meetings?
member of the board.
Yeah.
The way you get notices of the meetings is primarily or
Or the secretary.
the secretary.
And we'll just add you to the notification list
Yeah.
and you'll get the emails directly.
Thank you.
So if we're done with the agenda,
Think we-
other
I think we're
than,
done with the agenda.
did you want to?
Motion to adjourn.
Distribute
Or
nomination.
do you want to distribute this? Did you guys want to do the outstanding employee award for the
Oh,
State
yes.
County this year? This is a 25-year
Yeah, we
tradition.
need to
I
do
don't know.
nominations between now and next month for the employee of the year if we're going to select one.
So can we pass
Thank
those
you
out
for
to?
reminding.
Yep, we pass them out to those that are here. I'll send them out to the folks that are online.
I renew my motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Out of order.
Is it
and can't get
second?
done with our business.
Business is being done. Dies for lack of a second.
It's good. It's happening.
We have a second.
We have a second on the adjourn.
What is?
You're appointed.
Those opposed, stay.
You're appointed.
I don't know that Robert is gonna really.
I'll send forms to you, Judy, through email on the employee of the year, for those that are, everybody's getting really loud, and so it's hard for you guys to hear, so I'm gonna just come up to where you can
Yes,
hear me.
I would like one
Yeah,
nomination.
I'll send those to you, by email so that you guys have them, and I'll also send you the list of who's already got them, so that you make sure that we aren't, doubling up. So I'll get those to you by email tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good.
And I think we're adjourning. Are we adjourning?
Yes.
Okay, so we're adjourning, so I'm gonna shut it off.
So
Okay.
now you tell us all of this stuff that was received previously.
Yeah.
Here's. Hey,
And that's-
Ashley.
But I'm still planning on.